Today, mountaineering is a pursuit that bears scant resemblance to the dozen or so activities within the overall sport of climbing. Indoor gym climbers, sports climbers likely never set foot on an icy peak, nor ever desire to. Throughout most of mountaineering history, there wasn't much choice. For several hundred years, mountaineers wore what they could find. As climbing got harder and more serious, its tools became more specialized. Though climbing attire can be with t-shirt and blue jeans, mountaineering clothing is so specialized that its existence borrows from cutting-edge technology and fabrication, Gore-Tex and Kevlar. By the time Ed Hillary and Tenzing Norgay summited Everest, there had been major updates, and those updates have continued over the last 60 years. For perspective, here's what Hillary and Norgay used during their historic 1953 ascent, and how modern climbers are preparing for Everest expeditions today. The 1953 British expedition used wireless radios, but only lower on the mountain. Higher up, sleeping bags were laid out in patterns, across parallel to one another, or alone, as visual signals to observers at lower camps. Today, walkie-talkie radios are common on the mountain, and depending on the year, cell service can be available all the way to the summit. For the summit push in 1953, Ed Hillary wore a wool shirt, a string vest, a wool sweater, down pants and jacket, and a layer of windbreakers. Today's climbers use varying mid-layers and a down suit, which they sleep in at the higher camps, along with a sleeping bag. Tents in 1953 were made of heavy cotton canvas. Large mess and group tents were pitched in the lower camps, while small two-man tents that often ended up holding 3 to 4 people were used on the upper slopes. Today, modern mountaineering tents are made of lightweight nylon fabric with forgiving carbon fiber or fiberglass poles. Easier to carry, these materials tolerate the cold temperatures and high winds. Mallory's 20-pound 2-tank system held 1 liter of oxygen, good for about 9 hours. One modern tank weighs the same but holds twice the oxygen. Hillary and Norgay's only backpacks were their massive oxygen units, onto which they strapped extra gear. Today, climbers use lightweight nylon backpacks with a capacity of around 50 liters. In it, they can carry their oxygen, a spare tank, and emergency supplies. Snacks and water are usually kept in the internal pockets of the down suits. Climbers simply tied a rope harness around themselves, often just around their waist and not through their legs. This led to bruised and broken ribs on some falls, ending a climber's bid for the summit. Today, modern mountaineering harnesses are made of webbing, have built-in padding, and can protect climbers from hard, high falls. Hillary and Norgay used a handheld altimeter. A similar altimeter was recovered from George Mallory's body, who died on his 1924 attempt to summit Everest. Today, climbers use GPS and barometric pressure to record altitude, as well as aid in navigation. The 1953 climbers used twisted hemp rope and was known to snap on occasion under particularly hard falls. However, it held well through several falls in the expedition. Today, the ropes are relatively easy to handle, even in the harshest conditions. Hillary was charged to find supplier to provide canvas and down sleeping bags for the team. The temperature rating for these bags is unknown. Today, climbers on the mountain use nylon and down sleeping bags rated for 40 degrees below 0 Celsius or Fahrenheit. Ed Hillary and others wore boots made of kid leather with kapok fibers for insulation and a sweat-resistant liner. It took 35 British firms to manufacture just one pair. Today, modern climbers wear high-altitude mountaineering-specific boots. Sometimes climbers modify the boots with battery-powered boot heaters. The 1953 expedition photographer Alfred Gregory carried a Contax 35mm body with a 50mm and a 125mm lens. He also had a Rolleiflex and 2 lightweight Kodak Retina. Today, most climbers keep it simple, with digital cameras or their smartphones. The trick is to keep the batteries warm. By 1953, steel crampons were available for the Everest crew. They were heavy and were tied onto the climber's feet with string. Today, they use a simple webbing strap or heel bail clip system. Climbers avoid aluminum crampons since they can get banged up by the exposed rock. The ice axes have not undergone major updates, but today are still lighter and more resistant. Subscribe to the channel and enjoy.